Hey folks, and welcome to Drinking Alone with Friends, a podcast where three friends drink alone together. My name's Chris.
What up? It's Tud.
And I'm Obert.
And guys, drinking after 30 equals bad.
Yes.
That's a dangerous equation.
Yeah, right. Greater than 30 plus drink equals bad.
Equals skull and crossbones.
I was just going to say, I don't know if it's drinking past 30 or drinking until 3 a.m. past 30.
Yeah, all those equal bad. But yeah, 2/3 of the podcast are transplants this week, so pretty exciting stuff.
Well, I guess 2/3 of the podcast are transplants every week, but
also true.
2/3 of us are away from home.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this week I'm currently in Tennessee. We're actually recording this podcast live in the same house right now.
Yep, different rooms, of course, as is tradition.
Yeah, which I think our listeners were eagerly awaiting to hear the results of this trip, with expecting the equation of 30 plus alcohol plus Chris plus Todd equals bad.
It does seem like a recipe for disaster.
Right. Yep, pretty much. And then Obert, you're up in Connecticut, right?
Yeah. Last week I was recording out of New Jersey, visiting my sister. This week I'm recording in my ancestral home, Ross Hill Road, Connecticut.
Oh wow!
Yeah, having a good time, seeing everybody back here, and definitely getting my fill of those New England IPAs.
Ooh, nice!
It's been nonstop New England IPAs for me.
Nice.
Good to be back. And quick side note for the hosts of the podcast: the picture of Todd in Skype, you just look you're giving me a scowl, like it's like a confused glare, and I feel like I'm not giving you a good enough explanation every time I talk, so I can't look at it anymore. I have to minimize this window. Because I'm like, what do you want from me, Todd? Stop. I can't give you any more.
I expect you to give me the best answers
that
you possibly can.
Yeah, I have to look at the wavy bars instead. So that's what I got now.
In an utter state of total, just constant disapproval of what's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. So I'm glad I'm not looking at that anymore.
Oh man. So yeah, Tud is visiting me down here in Tennessee, and we went out to Nashville last night, and
yes, we did.
It was a time. We were able to hit up a lot of breweries, which is cool.
We did. We visited 4 yesterday.
Right. And then we went to a couple bars with like live music, and there was a lot of dancing, and then we ended up getting a lift home at 3 a.m. after getting in a verbal altercation with an Auburn fan, and then it was just there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it sounds like a night you'll never remember.
Yeah, there's definitely like, for the most part I remember it, but they'll be like, oh, do you remember this one thing? And I'm like, oh, no, I do not remember that.
Like the text message that you sent Brendan and I saying, where did I go?
Yeah, exactly.
I got that, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I was a little more alarmed too when I saw the response, which was to get your car.
Yeah, that was supposed to be card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope he meant get something out of the car. I don't know.
Yeah. So that was a escapade. And now, I woke up this morning and I was actually like, oh, I actually feel pretty good. This, that, and the other thing. And Dana goes, are you sure you're not still like drunk? And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. But as the day went on, I think I was still drunk.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. Now these post-20s hangovers, they seem to, as opposed to waking up bad and then feeling better throughout the day, I just wake up like on a 2 out of 10, and by the end of the day, I'm at like a -4.
Oh man,
I struggled with life for pretty much the entire day up until relatively recently. I've been struggling with life. So it feels good to not struggle at the moment.
Yeah. Hey, here's a suggestion for future content we could do. We could talk about hangover cures, what works, what doesn't work, and see what our listeners think. That might be
I was thinking
a good mailbag segment.
I definitely could have used that today.
Right. And I think people have some hidden gem tips out there. And I think everybody has their own kind of remedy that works for them. Me personally, my go-to is ramen noodles and a 12-ounce can of Coca-Cola with some ibuprofen. I don't care if it's 8 a.m. or noon. Usually I can't even eat until after noon. But something about the saltiness of the ramen, but it's bland enough to get down, plus like the sugary caffeination of the Coke, that does it for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always used to swear by, before going to bed, taking and drinking 2 full glasses of water and 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. And like, it seemed to have worked for me forever. Now, I did not do that today.
Yeah.
Or last night, rather. But that was always my thing. It's like 2 full glasses of water, 4 ibuprofen, and then go to bed. And you generally wake up okay.
Well, I mean, that sounds like that's definitely in the hangover prevention category.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's not really a cure. It's trying to get ahead of the hangover.
Right.
I don't think I really have one. I drink a lot of water, so I kind of try to like just force rehydrate myself. But I would be interested in hearing from our listeners, what their cures are, and then we can utilize them and see, if they work for us and report back to the listeners.
Yeah. Next time that any two of us are in the same state again, we'll have to send a repeat call for hangover cures.
Yep, exactly. Well, I know it's the last thing that Tud and I want to do. At least me. I can speak on behalf of me that I don't really want to drink right now. But I'm
we're
going
dedicated to our listeners.
Yeah, I love you guys, so I have to. But what are you guys drinking tonight?
So I am drinking a wine from Beach Haven Vineyards in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Chris and I went there a couple days ago and tasted all the wines and basically had a really fun time there. I'm currently drinking the blackberry wine. Chris, do you want to speak a little bit more about the wine and about the vineyard?
Yeah. So this has been featured on the pod before. So this is the second showing for Beach Haven, but it's a really cool place. Really laid back. All the people there are crazy nice.
I love CJ. Yeah.
CJ's a celebrity. Yep. But the wine's really good. And I'm not a wine drinker. I'm not a wino. I'm not any of that, but the wine is good. The blackberry wine is one of their, it's like one of their sweeter ones, but it also has like some nice tartness from the blackberry, but Tud will get into that in a little bit. But if you're ever driving through Clarksville and you see it, it's a pretty cool stop. Really nice, like, when it's not rainy and drizzly like it was, but when it's nice and sunny and everything's in full bloom, it's a really pretty scene there as well.
Yeah, so as Chris was saying, this wine is made with blackberries. It's very dark because obviously it's a wine made of a dark fruit, but it's extremely sweet. There's on the bottle of wine itself.
I don't know how you're drinking that with a hangover, by the way. I couldn't do it in your shoes. I would need something a little less sweet, but maybe that's just me.
Well, you drink Coke, so.
Hey, that's a very good point. You got me there.
So on the bottle of wine itself, it actually has a dry and sweet, like, scale. And this one is the farthest on the sweet side as you can be. So it is, I would gather, to be one of their sweetest wines. It's got a little bit of a medicinal taste, I guess, but not in like...
Ooh. Tell me more.
Some Robitussin, please.
Yeah. Like not in like I was going to say not in a bad way, but it's just got a little bit of like, it's kind of like what I would expect a boozy Robitussin to taste like.
It's with a bouquet of Robitussin aroma.
Some light Robitussin flavor.
But overall, I mean, it is very sweet. It's extremely fruity, and it does taste like a mouthful of blackberries. On a scale of 5, I'm not a not an expert wine rater, so I would say that it's probably 3.75.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a good wine. It is pretty sweet, and I don't know if I would say it tastes like Robitussin, but to each their own.
So help me complete this mental picture here.
Okay.
Did you open a whole bottle of this wine for the podcast?
Yes.
Oh my! Wow, listeners, this is how dedicated we are. So.
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
and I do plan on if nobody else is going to help me drink it, I am going to finish it, come hell or high water. So.
Oof. Godspeed, Ted.
I might even drink my other bottle of wine too.
So just for the listeners at home, when Tud poured this wine, he took a 16-ounce glass, like a tulip glass.
Yeah, like a treehouse glass.
Yeah, a 16-ounce glass, and was like, I think I put too much wine in this. He poured a half bottle of wine into this.
Yep, that did happen.
So
I can picture it now. You go to Beach Haven. That's the name of the place, right?
Yes.
Yep.
You go to Beach Haven. Ted's like, yeah, I'll take a pint of the the blackberry, please. Fill her up.
The picture will be up on the Instagram as opposed to this episode, as per tradition. You know, when we post our drinks that we drank on the episode, but yeah, everybody will be able to see it.
Yeah, it was really fun. A sight to behold.
Oh. Now, did you go there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we went there Thursday.
The way you've talked about it before on the pod, it's always sounded fun, especially hanging out on the dock.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any dock parties tonight on Friday night, but
I could safely say there was no water.
Okay, so now that we know Tud and his love, regardless of how hungover he is for wine, let's move over to Chris. What are you drinking tonight?
All right, here we go. So I'm drinking. Ooh, yeah, so cool. I'm drinking what is seemingly a staple beer, maybe not, but I always try to find it. But being in Connecticut, you don't find it very often. But I'm drinking the Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Coffee Stout by Alltech Brewing. You'll see the pictures up on the Insta.
So I do see this in Connecticut quite often.
Do you?
For our Connecticut listeners out there.
Yeah.
I almost never saw it. Maybe their production's gone up, or maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. But...
No, the regular Kentucky Bourbon Stout that they make, that's my dad's all-time favorite beer. So he's always on the lookout, and he finds it pretty regularly.
And it's really good. It's very smooth. You get some you do get bourbon pretty heavy. It almost covers up some of the coffee. So you do get a hint of the Haitian coffee, as it says right on the bottle, Haitian coffee. But it's really good. I really enjoy it every time I have it. And, apparently you can get it everywhere. despite what I said 2 minutes ago. Apparently you can get it everywhere. It's just that I know, being right underneath Kentucky, I can find it at any liquor store, which is cool because it is a good beer.
That is really cool. I've had the stout, I think, one other time. I, at one point, misthought that this was Kentucky Breakfast Stout by Founders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, because they're both KBS.
Correct.
Right.
So I bought it by mistake, but I was pleasant. It was, kind of a happy accident because it was good. It just wasn't what I was expecting when I bought it.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah, it was. I've seen a few. They do a bunch of like different variants of this. So they'll do like a peach variant, and like I said, the ale. And a number of other ones, and I've had a few of them. They're pretty good. So I don't know what other beer Alltech makes, to be honest, but I like this one.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything else by them. So
just those two.
Yeah.
Right.
And are they within driving distance of you?
They're in Lexington, Kentucky. So yes, Lexington, I think, is about 3 or 4 hours away.
Nice.
Not too bad.
We'll have to go there one day and go to the racetrack.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we'll have to once our podcast has made so much money that it's paid for us all to travel to Lexington and rate bourbons on the show.
Yeah, there we go.
that'll be our goal. We'll make it also to Alltech.
Yeah, so tell your friends so we could do that.
Yeah,
correct.
But this is 8% alcohol, which is, it's formidable. You would almost expect it to be higher because you do get the bourbon in it.
Because I think that's a dark beer.
Yeah, I think that's just standard with any bourbon barrel aged stuff. But it's good beer. I would say maybe a solid, and I don't remember what I rated this on Untappd, so this is going to be interesting. Say maybe a solid 4? Yeah, that's fine. 4.
Nice. What would it need to do to make it to be a 4.25, 4.5 for you?
For me, I would need more coffee.
Okay.
It's good, but I mean, it says it's a coffee stout. I don't get a ton of coffee.
But if you're a fan, if you're listening to this and you're looking for a really good coffee stout, there's better places to turn. Not that this is a bad beer, but you're not going to get a lot of coffee flavor.
Right. If you were like, oh man, coffee, yay, I probably would opt for a different coffee stout or a different coffee beer. So
that's good to know too. That's good. It's good information to share.
Yeah. Maybe your all-time favorite from Outer Light there. Was that the Subduction?
The Libation Propaganda.
Libation, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I've talked about it before. That's a good one. I was trying to think of one that was like more
in the
sold
bourbon-y
more regularly around the United States, not just in Groton, Connecticut.
Sure.
And I couldn't think of one off the top of my head. Hey, if listeners, if you know of any, shoot it on over. Let us know. But that's it for me and my Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Coffee Stout. But Obert, what kind of, I assume, Connecticut goodie do you have for us today?
Yeah, you are correct. And this comes to us straight from the brewery. I just picked it up, less than 12 hours ago. This is from previously featured on the podcast, Fat Orange Cat.
Very nice.
Call lawyers.
Yeah. I'm too tired to deal with that right now.
As soon as I open it, I get very intense orange aromas here. And I haven't even told you the name yet, but it smells really good.
And for those of you that may or may not remember, this was stop number 1 on Tud's Magical Mystery Brewery Tour. Was
very true. And actually, I stopped there because I went with listener of the show, Drew, and he was inspired by the Magical Mystery Tour. And so we didn't get all 10, but we got number 1.
I was going to ask, did you happen to try to live out my Magical Mystery Brewery Tour today?
We sort of did. We only hit 2 because of the time limitations. We went to Fat Orange Cat and then Pioneer. Sorry. We went to Fat Orange Cat and then we went to Connecticut Valley.
Honorable mention
on the list.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a cool spot. But before I get into that, let me tell you, I'm drinking the Right Drunk Edit Sober New England IPA.
What's it called?
Right Drunk, like Right Drunk Edit Sober.
Interesting.
And I shouted out their really cool labels when you posted a picture of the last beer, Ted, and I think all our listeners will enjoy this one. It's just there's a orange pencil that's spilling beer out of the top with cat whiskers for the pencil tip, and then in pencil handwriting in cursive it says Right Drunk, and then scribbled out it says Edit Sober. So they did a good job with this label. We've talked about this brewery a little bit before. They have goats and chickens when you show up, and they're only open on the weekends. So we got there right when they opened at noon, and it was packed, man. There was maybe 50 people at least in their little spot with lots of little fire pits outside. And they had some great New England IPAs, some good stouts, but I did not try this one yet. I saved it for the podcast.
Nice. Yeah, so they're constantly packed. They're only open 2 days a week, so they get a lot of visitors on Saturday, and then Sunday is go there and it's called grab and go. So you just go there, buy the beer to go, and leave. They don't do pours on Sundays.
Oh, so Saturday's the only day you can go and get tastings?
Yep.
Okay. It's funny because we talked about this last week a little bit, and Fat Orange Cat and Connecticut Valley, neither of them did flights.
Yes.
So, which I thought was interesting. But to interrupt that real quick, this is, like I said, it's a New England style IPA. It's very orangey. Reminds me a lot of Julius from Treehouse. Not the dankest, haziest New England IPA. You don't get a lot of that hop bitterness. Very smooth, very, like I said, that orangey citrus flavors. I get a little bit of a creaminess on the aftertaste, but I'm going to say if you are a fan of New England IPAs, this one would be a good one for you. I'm going to give this a 4.25 it's not, I would say they're some of their best ones, which I would say are, 4.5, 4.75 range, which for me are a little more of that hop bite. But this one is a very good one, like most of their beers.
And I would like to just provide clarity. While Fat Orange Cat doesn't do flights, they do allow 4 tastings for $7.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into that a little bit too, because you get to keep the glass with it.
Right.
And you go and you get a chips. So you go and you get a drink. You have to finish it, go back and get the next beer in the same glass, kind of thing.
Yep.
Which I was okay with that. I thought it was a good system.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's definitely unique to them, but it goes kind of with their theme and their vibe, and it's a really cool way of doing beer tastings.
Yeah, they're great. I love that place, and I'm glad that they're blowing up the way they are because they make great beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one thing I've been trying to do a lot of on my time back here is hit all these places that we constantly talk about every week, and I won't go into too many details of the ones we've already visited, Fox Farm, but I did go to a really cool brewery, and I felt a little. I was glad I was able to visit a brewery that neither of you had been to in Connecticut before, and share it with you guys for once. Which
is a feat.
It is,
right.
Yeah. I was happy I was able to do it and be the one to bring a new Connecticut brewery to the pod. I went to this little tiny brewery in the town of Chester, Connecticut, which I had never even been through Chester before. It was weird. It's like a kind of a typical quaint New England village. We were just driving along a windy New England road, which I do miss. We don't have those quaint New England roads in Montana. All of a sudden you come around a corner, speed limit slows down, and then bam, you're in this main street of a village out of nowhere. A little place of Chester, and in this time of year, all the Christmas decorations are up. Found a parking spot and went to this brewery called I believe it's the Little House Beer Company.
I will say, I bet you not a lot of listeners know where Chester is in Connecticut either, because I had to look it up as well.
Yeah. It's just a little town just west of the Connecticut River, kind of. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Route 9.
I will say, if it weren't for me dating Dana, I probably would have never known where Chester was. But...
Right. Yeah. It's in that little corner of Connecticut that it's easy to miss. Not to offend any of our listeners, but just somewhere I hadn't ever been before. But I go into this Little House brewery, and it's true to the name. It's a very tiny place, but they wowed me with their beers. They had 8 on tap, and we split 2 flights, and they had a really good milkshake IPA, the Wave Runner 2, which I would really recommend to our listeners who are a fan of that style. Get it before they run out. And they also had a really good winter ale, and I believe it was called Scrooge. And it was the most cinnamony winter beer I've ever had, and not in a bad way. They did a really good job of pulling off those cinnamon notes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
One thing that I really enjoyed was, you go to a brew pub, and a lot of places will have beer and food pairings. Like, if you're going to order this dish, we recommend you try this beer with it. This place doesn't have any food. You could bring your own food. We brought pizza in, but they do have song pairings to all of their beers, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat.
Be like, oh, you're drinking the Hefeweizen? You might as well listen to 99 Luftballons.
Yeah. And I think that it was, part of the joke was they were like kind of unusual songs. And we'll post, I sent you guys a little picture of their menu, but we can post what they had. And they had Happy Holidays, You Bastard by Blink-182 was the Scrooge song pairing, which is a really interesting song.
Nice.
But check it out. That's of all of my beer adventuring in Connecticut. That was one experience that I wanted to share with you guys and say to our listeners, if you get a chance, go check that place out, because I think before long they're going to get discovered. They've only been open since August, and I think that they're going to be blowing up. So get them while no one knows about them.
Yeah. Now, Obert, is there? And you might have mentioned it, and maybe I missed it. But do they do any kind of takeaway beer, or is it just growlers? Or
they do crowlers, which
okay.
The brewery that shall not be named does. I believe other Connecticut breweries do as well. But for listeners who aren't familiar with what a crowler is, which I don't believe we've discussed on the pod before,
Fat Orange Cat does them too.
Yeah, they take a 32-ounce can, imagine like just a gigantic can. This place had a unique system I'd never seen before, where they kind of spritzed them with kind of I believe I didn't really know what it was, but it looked like a disinfectant. Then they had a tap handle for, I could hear them pouring something, but nothing was coming out. I think that was just CO2. So I think it was just they had CO2 on tap to kind of purge the can of all the oxygen. And then they filled it up to the brim with beer, and they had a very official looking canning station right there. So you get this beer, it's filled this big can, holds 2 pints in it, filled all the way to the brim with beer, so no air can get in and spoil it, and you can take it to go. And I thought it was really cool. I got a crowler of the Scrooge, and it was definitely a good way to go for that brewery.
I've been seeing that more and more, the crowlers, and I've noticed it with some breweries down here that they only do crowlers. And I had a growler in the car, and it was actually Southern Grist. They do crowlers, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys fill growlers?" They say no, because they can guarantee that the beer is going to be, fresher out of a crowler than if they were to take, if I went in there with my dirty ass growler and they filled it, not knowing that I, keep it in my car and never wash it or whatever.
Right.
Then I could be like, well, Southern Grist sucks because the beer is bad and this, that, and the other thing. So in order to, curtail that, they only do crowler fills.
And
right.
I don't want to call out anyone on this podcast, but there was one time I went over a friend's house, and I noticed he had in his kitchen like a couple dozen growlers all around.
Who could that be?
All around the top of the cabinets in the kitchen. And it's like, sometimes you go to a brewery and you really want to take their beer to go, but you don't have your growler with you. It's a pretty common occurrence. I'm not going to bring my glass growler back from Montana to Connecticut. This was a good option for me to take their beer and experience other places.
Yeah, it's catching on as a thing everywhere, it seems. I personally like the growler, but
you don't say.
Yeah, but I mean,
they make really good decorations.
Yeah.
I like the crowler too. I mean, it's cool to have a 32-ounce can that you can just crack open and drink like a normal beer. But at the same time, I do like the idea that with the growler, I can pour myself a glass and then shut it and put it back in the fridge. With a crowler, you're pot committed to drinking all 32 ounces of that beer right then and there.
Right. Yeah, but, to the point too, if you open a growler, you drink half of it and you put it back in your fridge, even though you're not really losing the carbonation that much, the beer is going stale with the addition of all that oxygen. So it's not something that you can really save for more than maybe another day.
Right. But at the same time, even if I'm going to drink the whole growler, or say I'm sharing it, in between my glasses, I can keep the remaining of the beer that I'm not drinking cold.
I mean, you could put the crowler back in the fridge.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But then it's open.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, there's definitely advantages to both, but I just wanted to share because we hadn't talked about crowlers before, and I think maybe for people who haven't seen that before or have heard the term but wasn't sure what it was, that'd be a cool thing to kind of check out. So, but yeah, I want to share that place with you guys. Now, you guys sounded like made a grand tour of breweries down in Tennessee. Was there any particularly noteworthy experiences you had down there?
Yeah, I'd been to all of them before. So, Tud, you're probably going to have some more insight on them. However, I did want to touch base and reference back a few episodes ago. We did end up trying Sue from Yazoo Brewing, which was listed as the best beer from Tennessee. So Tud and I have both beaten Tennessee now.
Good.
Right.
Yep. And we differ on opinion on it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I think this week I had better Tennessee beers. So
yeah, and we've already talked about the issues we have with that list overall.
Right.
Yeah, so, but I enjoyed it. It was nice, smoky, stout, pretty tasty.
0 to 5, what would you give it?
4.25, I think I gave it.
Todd?
I gave it a 3.5.
Well, big swing.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's an okay beer. I don't think it's the best, and I think there are better Tennessee beers.
So let me ask you this then. So, you clearly did a lot of brewery hopping. What were the highlights?
Yeah, so we went to a couple different breweries. We went to Star Spangled Brewing, Southern Grist, Yazoo, Tennessee Beer Works, and Bearded Iris. And obviously, so as Chris has said multiple times in the podcast, Southern Grist is fantastic. It's definitely was a highlight for me. I love Bearded Iris as well. I think that they do really good IPAs. Their stouts were good. Their pale ale was good, but their IPAs are really what brings people in the door. Star Spangled was good. It was an interesting little brewery in Clarksville that I had never been to.
Really awesome atmosphere. Like,
yes,
the owner was behind the bar, and there was just like a lot of fun, and like, I don't know, just that's like my kind of brewery. Like that, they have some good beer, but it's really, really laid back. They have some the owner's always there and can talk to you about the beer. That's my kind of brewery.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I thought that it was a really good vibe. Their traditional ale was pretty fantastic.
Wow, that's saying something considering most traditional ales are not, that's a pretty bland style.
Yeah, this one wasn't bland.
No, it's aged. That's why. It's
okay.
It's a barrel aged ale that they do in bourbon barrels, and it was the first beer that they brewed. Like that was like the first one that they had. It's the one that built a brewery or something like that. That's what they call it.
Nice.
But it's pretty good. And it kicks you in the butt too. I think it's like 10% alcohol.
Yeah, it's deceptively strong. The other breweries, Tennessee Beer Works was fine. I mean, if you've been to a Boston Beer Works or another beer works, they tend to be kind of chainy. I think they're all owned by the same company.
Okay. So you don't get a lot of that local character you would get at the other places.
Right. I mean, their beer was good, but it wasn't anything to blow your mind. But really, I really want to talk about Southern Grist. I think Southern Grist might be my favorite brewery in Tennessee. I do really like Bearded Iris, but they're doing a lot of interesting stuff. I actually bought cans of, it's called Blueberry Cobbler. It's a sour that tastes like blueberry cobbler. But it's not really like super sour. It's got a lot of sweet to it. It's really good. Everything about that place was awesome. So Chris, you have a winner not too far from your house.
Yeah, and I mean I've said that before. It's just great beer. The variety. I mean, there was 14, 15 beers on tap, and I think 8 or 9 of them were sours. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, they're phenomenal. They're really good.
Yeah, next time I go to visit you, that's definitely the number one place that I want to go.
Yeah, and obviously you've been to Bearded Iris, Obert, so you know
Right.
you don't have to sleep on that one because they do IPAs as good as anybody in Connecticut or in the Northeast in general.
Yeah, definitely both those places. But Chris has shared plenty of Southern Grist beers my way, and I definitely want to go check them out next time I go visit with you guys.
Chris, did you just fall down?
No. Couldn't you hear
Sounds
me
like you're
ruffling?
being attacked by a paper monster.
I was wrestling through our very, very physical mailbag that I have here. That is definitely here. All right, so we have a few emails that we wanted to touch base on, and some of them date back to the beginning of the month. And actually, it seems to be working out pretty well.
Beginning of December.
Yeah, but beginning of December. Yeah, sorry. And this actually seems to be working out pretty well. Like doing like one mailbag a month seems to be working. So first, we got a double hit from friend of the podcast, Drew, who actually was drinking Fat Orange Cat with Obert.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, we asked our listeners, what are your thoughts on cellaring beers? How long do you keep them? Do you even bother? This, that. And he is firmly of the mindset, beers for drinking, not saving. So you go out to a brewery and you get something good and you want to drink it right away. Why? Don't put it to the side. So it's a good thing. He made a good point, and it's something we didn't talk about, but he said that there is so much good beer available now. What is the point of saving something? You never have to worry about not having good beer available. So really good point.
That is very true.
Yeah. And I think some of the problem that some people get into, myself included, I'm guilty of this too, is I get myself in situations where I acquire beer more often than I'm in situations where I can finish the beer I already have. I have a whole fridge of stuff I haven't gotten around to finishing a 6-pack of, or there's always something new and shiny to try, and then you ignore all the stuff that's already in your cellar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah.
Tud's got literally like fridges just full of old beer.
Yeah, how's that? I like how I'm forcing this resolution on Tud, but how's that drinking two for every one you buy going?
We're doing good. We're making progress.
Good to hear it.
Except for now that I'm coming home from Tennessee.
Yeah.
With more beer than
I
came with.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the same problem coming back from Connecticut. I left with a bag full of presents, and I told people, don't buy me anything too heavy to take back to Montana with me for Christmas presents. I'm saving all my room and my luggage for beer. So it's going to be, when I get back, it's going to be a lot of beer to add to my already overflowing beer fridge.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So Drew also wrote in about Tud's advice to gamble on monkeyknifefight.com from a few episodes ago. He's just questioning whether or not it is legal, or if you're basically condoning people to gamble illegally and commit tax fraud.
No. So Monkey Knife Fight is legal in the United States. There are certain states that it's not legal in, but none of those states are Montana, Tennessee, or Connecticut. I couldn't tell you which states it's not legal in. I think Arizona is one of them. But Arizona also doesn't allow daily fantasy football, which is legal. But the way Monkey Knife Fight works is it kind of goes off of that daily fantasy law that allows FanDuel and DraftKings and the like to operate. So it is operating legally.
Okay.
So advice to our listeners, check to make sure it's legal in your state. But if it's in one of the states where one of the hosts of the podcast listen to, you're good.
Right. And I mean, I assume that if you were like trying to sign up in Arizona, for example, if that's one of them, it would be like, oh, sorry, we're not available in your area.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Yeah. He wanted to make sure that you were not trying to lead people down a path where they're going to get knocks on the doors. Be like,
no. I'm not gonna name drop any online casinos that people can use for actual sports betting. But Monkey Knife Fight is perfectly legal.
All right, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and I have a letter here that Chris just handed me from the mailbag.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. So yeah, listener Michael of the podcast here writes in. I just got no. You're a host, Michael. This is a non-Tud Mike, friend of the pod, and he writes in.
What the hell are you doing?
Just reading the letter.
No. Who's playing with cardboard?
No, this is I have the letter right here.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Duh.
So
It's a very physical, real letter.
Yeah, this is how we do the mailbag. We get the emails, we print them out, we mail them to ourselves. So we have a mailbag. Yeah. I'm surprised you've never seen Chris reading them before on the webcam. But anyway, so listener Michael writes in, says, I just got a brand new home bar, and in my bar I have a mini fridge with 2 sections, one for wine and one for beer. And he knows what temperature to set the wine section at, but he asks, what temperature should I set my beer portion of my mini fridge under my bar for? So
well, that's a pretty cool fridge, by the way.
Yeah, right. As I'm pretty jealous of that fridge. Mine doesn't have my beer fridge at home. I've always just cranked it to as cold as it gets because it doesn't get super cold. But Tud, I know you keep your beer chest freezer at a very specific temperature, right?
Yeah, I keep my chest freezer at the same temperature that I keep my normal fridge at, which is 37 degrees. The reason for that is it's just, do you want your beer cold? If you're going to be drinking more stouts and more heavier types of beers like that, then you're going to want to leave that fridge a little bit warmer. You know, most stouts recommend drinking between like 44 degrees and 50. Beer traditionally was served warm, so...
Yeah, beer is much older than refrigeration.
Right. So keeping it warm is fine, but most people don't like to drink warm beer anymore since refrigeration's invented. But beer's not going to freeze at 32. So if you want to drop the fridge to 32 degrees or 31 or 30, the beer's not going to freeze. It's alcohol. So really, it's up to user preference. I keep mine at 37. So
if we had to boil that all down, we'd say if you're keeping Coors Light, Bud Light, adjunct beer in your fridge, turn it down to freezing. If you're drinking your IPAs, your more typical hoppier ales and lagers, keep it mid to upper 30s. And if you're drinking something a little heavier, maybe a stout porter, you could keep it at low 40s.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd put Bud Light or Coors Light into a near freezing fridge because that is very low alcohol style beer. I'd probably just keep it at 37. It's cold. That's the same temperature if you're pulling a can of soda out of the fridge. Same temperature that the can of soda is going to be would be the beer.
See, I gotta say, I agree. I wouldn't keep it freezing, but for me, the best way to drink fizzy, see-through lager is, put that right in our frosty mug, get it as cold as non-freezingly possible, and I think that's the best way to enjoy one of an adjunct lager type beer. I don't know. That's just my preference.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much in line with what I do. Mine's not fancy. Mine's just like setting 1 through setting 10, So I do know, however, that my fridge in particular, and this is one thing that you are going to have to watch out for, if you do get it too cold, sometimes you will have beers that will, freeze or explode or something like that. Because I've definitely dealt with that in my fridge. Because for some reason, it gets to be probably negative 1,000. So it's pretty cold.
Sounds not good.
The coldest place on earth is Chris's beer fridge.
Exactly.
Below absolute zero in Chris's beer fridge.
I got it figured out now. I haven't had any casualties in a while, but when I first got it and I was trying to dial it in, yeah, I definitely lost a few soldiers in battle. So,
R.I.P.
But
good questions.
Yeah. So thanks again for everybody writing in.
Absolutely. Continue sending them in. Hashtag follow the email, dawfpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll get you guys on here. Send recommendations. Dan has been like sending recommendations like crazy, so that's awesome. And I think he's been helping Tud out with his hit segment. What is the news?
He has indeed, and that will be making a return shortly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, keep sending them in. We really enjoy getting them.
Yeah, and so with that, I think it's that time we all look forward to at the end of our Thursday episodes.
Yep.
Here, let's turn to that frosty mug of wisdom with our 3 handles.
Yep.
So I'll lead off this week, if you guys don't mind.
Go for it.
No, go ahead.
So my handle this week is going to be the new Black Mirror episode/season/movie that they came out with. So I don't know if either one of you ever watched Black Mirror, but it is a show on Netflix that is basically very Twilight Zone-y-ish, where it's freaky.
It's a modern technology twist on Twilight Zone, more or less.
Yes, exactly. So as of December 28th, they released the new season/movie of Black Mirror. So what this is it's like a choose your own adventure book, but in a show or movie.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So it's called Black Mirror Bandersnatch. It does not fall underneath the same category on Netflix as the rest of the Black Mirrors, where they have like seasons 1 through 4. This is a separate title for Netflix, but go check it out. We watched it today, and I thought it was really good. And there's 19 hours of content in this movie.
What?
Yes. So you can watch it multiple times. There's multiple endings. There's multiple different story arcs.
Can you explain to me how a choose your own movie works? Do you have to use the remote?
You have to use the remote.
Okay.
You have about 10 to 15 seconds to make a choice and hit the select button, and the story continues seamlessly from there. I don't want to give too much of it away. It's based
Well, it sounds like you can't, because it depends on what choices you make.
Right. So go check it out, everybody. It's well worth your time. And then while you're at it, watch seasons 1 through 4 of Black Mirror as well, just because it's a fantastic show.
Yeah, just like, I think, saying it's like Twilight Zone is good. I mean, I've always been a big fan of dystopian literature or fiction in general, and I love that show. Definitely, some episodes leave you thinking. So, Black Mirror, definitely check it out. So, Tud, you want to hand that off, that mug?
Yeah, who wants it next?
I'll take it.
All right, here you go, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow.
I mean, we're in the same house, so I can actually gently hand it to you today.
Right, yeah. Actually, can you run it upstairs, please? The middle handle on our Frosty Mug of Wisdom tonight is actually something that I'd never done before, and I did for my son's first birthday. So my son, CJ, he turned 1 yesterday. So happy birthday, CJ. When you listen to this about 20 years from now.
When we're celebrating our 20th anniversary.
Right. And I baked him his birthday cake. Now, I'd never done it before, and I never made a cake before.
So you've never made a cake before? I know how much you love baking.
I do love baking. I guess it's like, how often do I need a cake versus how often do I need cookies, you know?
Okay.
So,
and the answer to the cake is rarely, and the answer to cookies is frequently.
More often than you should need cookies.
Yeah.
Went through, baked the cake, everything from scratch. I don't do mixes. But one thing that I never done and will do from now on, because it is so worth it, was I made my own buttercream frosting.
Oh.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah, Tud was there. So it's really easy to make. It's easy. It's a little bit time consuming because of the way you have to add things to the mixer, but it is so worth it, and it just comes out so good. And I'll find the recipe that I used, and I'll put it in the show notes. I will say this recipe calls for a half a teaspoon of espresso mix, or I used finely ground coffee. I would cut it back if you're not a big coffee fan, because you get a lot of coffee out of it, even though it's only half a teaspoon. So just a little bit of a pro tip, but still very good. But I also love coffee. So
yeah. So wait, what kind of cake was it?
So it was just a regular chocolate cake.
Okay, I was assuming it was chocolate if you had the coffee in with the frosting.
Yeah. Yep. So, but it was a dual layer chocolate cake with buttercream frosting. And it was pretty good.
It came out excellent. As the person who ate a very big slice of it.
Nice. Yeah, you'll have to put a picture of this cake up on the Instagram. I want to see what it looks like, because it sounds delicious. It sounds like it looks delicious too.
Yeah, I mean, My presentation probably could have been better, but
yeah. Well, you didn't know it was going to be seen by 500 plus Instagram followers when you were making it too.
It's very true.
You got a big audience.
Right. Right. Oh man. So, but yeah, that's mine. Go ahead. If you're going to bake something, or even if you just want to eat frosting, make your own. It's easy and it's delicious.
Even if you want to sit there with a tub of frosting, you might as well make your own.
So Obert, you're the last handle this week. What do you got for us?
Thanks, Chris. I guess I'll take it home from here. I wanted to share with you guys a Christmas gift I got, and I know we've talked about like quality of life gifts before, or like just like nice splurges for yourself. I got a pair of Bombas socks, which I know they advertise a lot now on other podcasts or TV. I see them all the time. These are the socks where like when you buy a pair, they donate a pair to charity, is kind of their gimmick thing. But they were really comfortable. I am not normally a guy who wears fancy socks. I just have the cotton Hanes kind of things. But after getting this pair of like the nice thick wool socks, wow, I could wear these all the time. I might go and get myself some more. Granted, they're kind of expensive. Take that into account if you're going to buy yourself a pair or two. Maybe not to replace your whole wardrobe, but it's just like a little extra treat for your day. Like that's why I thought it was good for like a handle on our mug of wisdom. Just like a little something to make your overall daily experience a little bit better. So Bombas socks, check them out.
Are they the world's most comfortable socks?
Oh, is that their tagline? I think it is.
That's
right?
Because they make socks with no seams and all that type of stuff. And I'm just wondering, are they that comfortable?
I mean, they're socks, right? But it's definitely the kind of thing where if you have your favorite pair of underwear, something like that you first out of the dryer type of thing. Like, yeah, I'll always wear these when they're clean because they're that comfortable.
So kind of how Chris is into underwear, you're going to be into socks now?
Maybe. The problem is I'm not coordinated enough to keep all of my socks together. Like, I like to keep 20 of the same sock so that way I don't have to worry about matching them. If I was really into socks, I couldn't do it because they'd be mismatched all the time. Maybe that could be my new thing, is I'm just the guy who walks around with mismatched socks all the time.
You could buy 20 of the same pair of
the same
Bombas
pair of socks
or whatever.
I could do that. Maybe that's what I got to
do. So you said they're made out of wool?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think they're wool socks. They're really comfortable, whatever they are.
Now, are they made for like outdoors, or is it like day to day? Because I would have a feeling that if I were to wear them, my feet would get like super hot and sweaty and gross.
They're merino wool, so it's good and not itchy. And I do notice my feet get warm in them, but it's good, especially this time of year with winter here. If you're walking around the house with just socks on, which I typically do, it keeps your feet
only
pretty comfortable.
Socks.
Yeah. Just me walking around wearing just 2 socks.
Where are they? Who knows?
Right. Yeah, I'll leave that for the listener imagination. So, Ted, you want to take it away?
So, with that, we'd like to thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank Beach Haven for their blackberry wine.
I'd like to thank Alltech for the Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Coffee Stout.
And, of course, the incredible brewery Fat Orange Cat and their very delicious Right Drunk, Edit Sober.
Please make sure to follow us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at DAWF Podcast. Also, make sure you follow us on Untapped at DAWF Podcast. Hashtag follow the email, dawfpodcast@gmail.com. Keep those emails up for the mail segment.
Yeah, we want to know the hangovers, how to avoid them, how to stop them.
Yeah. Make sure you're sending those in. Send your general thoughts, concerns, questions. Still looking for more enemies of the pod, too, so we can make fun of you. So
that's talking to you, Natalie.
Yeah. Natalie's already on the list. Natalie's been boom, roasted, done, ended. She doesn't exist on this planet anymore. She just got burned that bad. She had to change her name.
Wow.
She's one of those people who's volunteering to go to Mars just because of how bad I made her look.
Wow.
Please make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. While you're there, please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help people find our podcast, because the more ratings we get, the more we can move up the charts and more people will find our podcast. Anything else, guys?
I was just looking. There are over 200,000 folks that signed up to be volunteers for the One Way Mars Colony project. That's crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, Natalie's got a lot of friends on that list.
But knowing her, she probably won't get chosen.
Mm.
Even a failure at trying to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And with that, my name's Tud.
My name's Chris.
And I'm Obert. And remember, if you're drinking alone, do it with friends. Wait, Chris, 200,000? Really?
I'm trying to see if I can still sign up.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever sign up. I don't want to sign up.
What? Why not?
Too many good breweries.
Oh, that's true.
Back on
That's
Earth.
true.